In this video, we will be discussing Lesson 17.3, Working with the Balance Sheet. New terms that we'll be recognizing, or terms that we've seen in the past, are things such as assets and liabilities and equity. The way that they're used for a balance sheet is there's different categories of assets and liabilities. Current assets are considered anything that is 1 year or less, and plant assets are anything that are 1 year or more. And this really talks about a long term versus a short term. A long term would be your plant assets. Your short term would be more of your current assets. On page 670, you'll find some different examples that you'd find under current and then under plant. Now we talk about liabilities. It's the same thing. There's current and then there's long term. And these just give an indication of kind of where things are at. So let's jump right into example 1 here to start balancing this balance sheet. So what we have here in example 1 is they provide us that we have $8,000 in cash. We have $11,000 in notes receivable. And notes receivable is nothing more than the amount of money that is owed on this paper. And then we have accounts receivable, which is $15,000. We have inventory of $51,000. And then we're going to add all of these together. If you're not, again, familiar with some of these terms, if you go to page 670, it has all these in here. So cash, obviously, we know. Accounts receivable is funds owed by customers of the firm. Notes receivable is the value of notes owed to the firm. So funds owed by customers, accounts receivable. Value of all the notes is notes receivable. And then we have inventory, it's just merchandise that has not been sold yet. So to add all these up, we're going to go equals sum. Click and highlight those 4 different assets. And now we have that in there. The next one we have is land, buildings, and fixtures. And the amounts we have for this are the following. $24,000, the value of the land, $22,000, the value of the building, and different fixtures and pieces of equipment of $18,000. So we're going to go equals sum, and we're going to add all 3 of those together. And now we have our total amount of current and plant assets. And all we're doing to find the total assets is to add the current plus the plant. And so we're at $149,000 for the assets. Now we need to calculate what is the liabilities that we have here. Well, we have notes payable, accounts payable for the current, $8,000 for notes and $26,000 for accounts payable. And now what we have here is for the different types here. The accounts payable is amount that must be paid to other firms, and then the notes payable is the value of the short-term notes owed by the firm. So they're just different types of debts that are out there. So we add these 2 together. We get $34,000. Then we have things such as mortgage. This is how much is left owed on the piece of property that is there. Then long-term notes payable. These are long-term debts that they can get through the bank to pay back. Maybe they had a massive piece of equipment that they needed to purchase and they didn't have the necessary funds for it, so they took out long-term loans. So adding these 2 together, we'd be at $63,000. Now, to add up total liabilities, we take the total current, total long-term, and we're at $97,000. So what is the actual worth of the company? Well, to find what is actually owned by the company is known as owner's equity. And we take the total assets minus total liabilities, and we would find the value of the company would be $52,000. Now, to find the total liabilities and owner's equity, we could add those 2 together, and we would take the total liabilities plus owner's equity, and we'd be at $149,000. So it's kind of a check and balance here. We know that the owner's equity is $52,000, and we know that the total assets is $149,000, and it matches up on both of these. All right, let's jump to example 2. In example 2, it's similar situation here. We have current and other for both the assets and liabilities. So for this one, 20,623, 18,223, 15,272, and the total for this one for current is 57. For the other one, and for the other, or long term, is 314. Now we add these two categories together as we did in the previous example. We'd be at 371, 871. Second part of this, total current liabilities, $71,033. And for other liabilities, or long term, we'd be at $294.24. Now, total liabilities, we take the 71,000 plus the 294, we'd be at 365. Now, how do we find owner's equity again? We take the total assets minus total liabilities, and we'd be at 6,814. Now, if we want to do a check and balance here, what we could do is take the equity plus total liabilities, and we match here 371 assets, 371 for total liabilities and owner's equity. Notice that it has a different name here. The first one was owners. The second one is stockholders. The difference is owners owns the company, and stockholders is a public company that is owned by people that own stock in the company. So that's the difference in the two numbers here. Other than that, this is how you balance a sheet when it comes to these different liabilities and assets that are here in the balance sheet for lesson 17.3.